For some time now, we've seen certain trends within the video game industry with developers trying to push certain agendas and gamers overwhelmingly rejecting it. And every once in a while, you'll get some data to kind of support what gamers have actually been saying all along. Like we had this one study come out last fall that said female gamers actually like to have good looking female characters to play as. And this is kind of in response to effort by many game developers to make female characters more ugly or something like that. They thinking that that makes them appear more powerful or whatever. I don't know why they do it, but female gamers are like, no, we want to play the pretty characters. And now we're getting some more information kind of along the same line, because another trend that's been happening within the video game industry for the last several years is developers, instead of having the option to have a male or female character, you have body type A or body type B, because that's kind of going to more of the trans movement, and I'll get more on that in a moment. And a lot of gamers have actually been calling this stuff out, saying they don't want to have identity politics inserted in their forms of entertainment. They just want to have, especially fantasy RPG games, to be a form of escapism. But developers have still been trying to push it to their detriment. And now we're getting some more information that suggests that no, gamers are right. If you want to actually sell your game, don't do this sort of thing. This is being reported on here by That Park Place. Players overwhelmingly vote to keep RPG video game characters, genders, male and female. An online poll from Lords of the Fallen developer. Now, just to kind of preface this, it was just a Twitter poll, so you can take it with a pinch of salt, because I'm not saying they're biased or anything like that, but it's not like a scientific poll where it's just like, it could be anyone randomly or any random gamer. It's people who actually are on Twitter happen to see this poll. There's issues with it, but still, I do think the results are kind of interesting. So Marek Tyminski of CI Games, the developer of Lords of the Fallen, recently stirred up debate in the gaming community with the poll addressing gender selection in a medieval fantasy RPG and a promise to abide by the results for future projects. So this was his post he made on there. In a medieval fantasy action RPG experience, what do you prefer to choose between? We will follow the final results. So the choices that he has are body type A, body type B, male or female, none of the above. And that's for character creations. And the poll posed the following question. Okay, so I already got to that. So that's the options. Body type A/B is seen as the gender politics option. It allows players to select a traditionally masculine or female body type without assigning gender to it. This option is typically paired with the mandatory pronoun selection. Lords of the Fallen infamously used this gender model previously. And that's really the problem a lot of people have with this is otherwise, if it's like, let's say body type A is more like the male character and body type B is the female character, you don't just choose male or female, you choose what you want your character to look like, and then you choose your pronouns for that character. So if you, I don't know, if you're someone who is trans female or whatever, so you are biologically a man, you might choose body type A and then choose the female pronouns because that's how you personally identify as. Honestly, though, I don't know why a trans person would actually do this sort of thing. That's kind of what they're saying they want to do, so they have representation. But a real trans person wouldn't want to look like a male within that type of fantasy RPG. They would probably prefer, if they were sincere, just be a female character and just leave it at that. But no, you can't virtue signal that way. And that's because I don't think a lot of these people truly are trans. I think they just like attention, and that's why they try to do these sort of things. And that's why they want to be identified as trans, not just as a male or as a female. They might say they do, but their actions say otherwise. But anyway, going down to the results of his poll, you can see right here, 88% said male or female. So that's a pretty big majority of this. And this has the results with 46,791 participants voting. So again, this is just an X poll that he did, 46,000 people playing. Now, obviously, that's not all the gamers in the world responding to it, but still, that's a pretty good sample size for this sort of thing. And like I said, it's not a scientific poll, but I think it does give a pretty good indicator that this is what gamers want. They don't want to be reminded of current day politics. They want to just be immersed within their fantasy RPG setting. And that goes down to the whole character creator aspect of it. Now, some people will try to push back on this and say, like, what does it really matter? We heard about this when it came to Starfield with the pronoun selection, or like, it's just something you put at the start of the game. It has no basis on it whatsoever. Why do you care so much about it? But when someone tried to actually add a mod to Starfield that removed the pronoun selection, well, then their mod got banned. Nexus Mods, the site hosting it, said that they don't allow bigots and things like that. And that's why they got rid of it, which indicates that it is a big deal for some people because they know what they're doing with these sort of options right there. They're trying to push a type of agenda with it. And if it really was no big deal, then they wouldn't care if people got rid of it. And they wouldn't care about body type A, body type B, male or female. They do think of it as kind of a big deal. And that's why they're trying to push this sort of thing. But as we can see, gamers have overwhelmingly rejected it. And the thing is, it's not just this poll that kind of shows it. We've also seen that with the sales figures from a lot of games recently. The overwhelmingly rejection of body type A/B sends a very clear message to the game development community. It demonstrates a strong player preference for traditional male or female character selection. It also aligns with the backlash seen recently with other games attempting to implement politically charged features. You can see they have photo of Dragon Age the Veilguard here, launched a critical fanfare from virtue signaling outlets. The game suffered major commercial disappointment, and that's putting it very, very lightly. It placed a heavy emphasis on progressive gender ideology. This includes mixing male and female voices with varying body types, selecting pronouns, and even adding top surgery scars, controversial inclusions for a medieval fantasy setting. Yeah, and the reason they only did that is because they were trying to virtue signal, and that's why they added top surgery scars, mixing up the voices, having the pronoun selections, and they would literally stop the game dead in its tracks in order to basically have the writer of the game virtue signal and lecture the gamer. And I mean, you've probably seen some videos of it going around online, and it is pretty ridiculous what they're actually saying during those segments of it. But again, this is what people don't like about a lot of these things. Maybe Dragon Age of Veilguard would have done better if it was a bit more subtle, because the games have always had kind of a political leaning to them, but they handled it in a more subtle manner. And I think people are okay with it at that point. They just have a problem when it's so front and center, because then when you're playing it, it's no longer a form of escapism. It's just reminding you of the everyday world. And that's something that people don't want when they're trying to play a video game in a fantasy setting like this. Veilguard performed poorly overall with both sales figures and player retention, painting a bleak picture, and it talks about it here. So they sold 1.5 million units, and that's actually a pretty optimistic assessment right there. We don't know how many, but I've even heard some estimates saying it might have even been less than a million. They were expecting 10 million copies, and with the budget of this, they probably needed to sell around 5-6 million copies in order for it to be profitable. I've heard some people say it needed to sell 10 million copies, but either way you look at it, it did poorly. Had a lot of refund rates. Trade-in value was reduced, which means a lot of people were trading in their game after they bought it. The player responses to Minsky's poll mirrors the commercial outcomes of Dragon Age of Veilguard. Players appear to be pushing back against games that prioritize modern political messaging over immersive storytelling and gameplay. Simply put, players don't want gender politics in a medieval RPG. As CI Games considers its direction for future titles, the results of this poll and the missteps of the Veilguard offer a clearer message. Respect the audience's expectations and preferences. Developers should focus on delivering engaging worlds and compelling narratives without alienating their players base through heavy-handed political inclusions. And that was one of the problems a lot of people had with Dragon Age of Veilguard. Even if they were more politically aligned with the developers of that, they were saying because it was so heavy-handed and it basically just stops everything dead in its tracks in order to lecture the audience, then that was kind of off-putting for that sort of thing. Now, so like I said, maybe if they could have handled it a lot better, if it was more subtle, then maybe people would have been okay with it, or they could have looked past it and things like that. But I think pronoun selection, as far as in the character creation or having body type A and body type B, that's something that you're met with right at the start of each game that you pick up. So as soon as you pick up a game, first thing you do, create your character. And if that's what you're met with right off the start, it's like, okay, you're already starting off on kind of a bad foot. And that's why I think a lot of gamers are saying just don't do this. Just go back to male and female. It's a lot simpler that way. It's a neutral way of going about doing things as opposed to body type A, body type B, which is the more political way of actually doing things. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Does this poll result surprise you, or is this kind of like well, yeah, of course people are going to reject this sort of thing? Comment below and let me know what you think. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.